Okay, well, got that out of the way. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with the guitar. They call me on the phone, or they used to anyway, back when we had a call-in show back in the old days, and say, hey, man, what's your show about? It's about an hour. It's about guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So, yeah.
Back when people talked on telephones.
That's right. People don't like to talk. I know young people who are terrified of talking on the telephone for some reason. I don't know. Doesn't bother me, but a lot of things don't bother me. Some things do, though.
My sister-in-law one time wanted to ask me why I didn't answer her text. What text? I never look at my phone for texts.
That's right. I'm not exactly sure if I remember how to. I haven't answered a text on my flip phone for. We have similar phones.
Yeah. Well, it is possible.
It's possible, but I missed a call. Huh. I wonder who that was. 9:30 a.m. Well, I was probably in my second sleep. Anyway, but yeah, so anyway, so it's a show about guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. We talk about care and feeding of the guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, how to play the guitar, related topics like guitarrón, the guitar, sitar, chitoles, lutos, vihuelas, banjos, balalaikas, bouzouki's, bajos, sextos, bajos, cincos, cavaquinhos, bandoras, and bandolins, and mandolins, and mandolas, and mandoras. We talk about, I don't know, accordions and ocarinas. There's one.
Alpenhorns, bagpipes, and concertinas.
That's right, yeah. Trombones and trombomarinas.
Irish harps, Jews harps, and pixie harps.
That's right. Harpsichords, harmoniums, and harmonicas.
Dulcimers, dobros, and didgeridoos.
There we go, yeah. Timbales, timpanis, and tubas.
Xylophones and zithers.
There we go. We could go on like this forever, I'll tell you. Did I always say pipe organs, piccolos? I probably did. But anyway, we could also talk about politics, world events, personality problems, but we keep it clean. This is a family program. Anyway, so, yeah, so I've had this idea. I want to bring a bouquet of Stratocasters. How many of you on already? Sorry. What I did, though, I went to the bread garden again today. They have like a food table there, like a salad bar on one side and hot dishes on the other. And I had mostly salad and a little bit of a hot dish there, but mostly I had 2 big ears of corn, which I thought corn on the cob. Might as well have it now.
Yeah.
This also gives me an impetus to floss my teeth heavily, because but which is always probably good. But the thing is, like, every time I go there, I'm about ready to take a nap afterwards. It's like siesta time. I don't know. They maybe put something on the food there, trying to calm us all down. But so if I stay awake for this show, anyway, maybe next week I'll do the bouquet of Stratocasters.
At the Beef Days parade this year, there was a trailer that had what looked like a giant corn cob on it. Must have been 12, 15 feet long. Mm-hmm. The kernels were made out of gallon milk bottles painted yellow.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a clever idea because it looked pretty realistic for the size of it.
Yeah, well, if you get far enough away, those things, they look, that's pretty clever. I don't think I would have had the self-discipline to lash together like 1,000
well,
milk
I don't
bottles.
think there's 1,000, but
at least a few
100
maybe. Yeah. Well, you're doing it already.
But obviously still some labor involved in putting the thing together.
Yeah, no, I would think it would be. We've been talking about having a PATV float in the homecoming parade this fall for the TV station. I can have that big TV set and have maybe people on the inside of it, having a talk show or something like that. And
or you in there playing your guitar.
We could do that, yeah, I suppose. I would play guitar in the thing. In a sense, of course, I'd rather not be in the parade because I have a gig that night. I'd have to cancel a gig. And I don't like to do that for one reason.
Don't want to give up a paying job, do something for free.
Well, there's that. You see, I like the money. I mean, actually, I need the money. But the other thing is that
Actually, it isn't even free. They charge you to do it.
That's right. Well, maybe somebody else would pay for it, but I'd probably end up paying anyway. So at least for some. Yeah, it'd be the wrong direction. Also, I don't like to not be there at the Tuscan Moon, because people will. I'm part of the furniture out there, I'm part of the ambiance, or the ambience, if you prefer.
Don't want them to learn they might get along without you.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't want them to think they could. The Northside Bistro, they figured out they could get they can get by only having me once a month.
Yeah.
So anyway, that means I got a lot more free Thursdays. But anyway, yeah. So well, anyway, Mr. Skopinski's here. So this here is a.
I have heard that bistro is Russian for hurry up. You should check and see if they know if that's true or not.
What's it? What is it?
Russian
Bistro?
for hurry up.
Oh yeah, bistro.
They said after the Napoleonic Wars, Russia occupied parts of France for a while. And they thought the French waiters were dragging their heels when they were serving the Russians, and the Russians would yell, bistro, bistro.
I think I've heard that too. I know a few Russians. I could ask them; they would know. I even know a professor of Russian. Well, she's a colleague of mine, because I got this other gig at Cornell
Since you
College.
are a college professor now,
That's right. Well, I've got 2 jobs now. So.
professor of guitarology.
Yes, guitology, and I will be teaching banjo.
Huh.
I have a genuine enrolled student at Co. Starting next week.
Have you had a ukulele student yet?
I have had a ukulele student. Yeah, I had a. But they didn't have a special classification for it. Yeah. They have a new classification for like extraneous fretted instruments. So I have taught ukulele, but somebody who's also taking guitar, but she did more ukulele than guitar. And then I had another guy who was taking guitar. Actually, he checked the guitar out from the library, and he had his ukulele shoved in, in a gig bag. So he shoved in the ukulele at the neck part of the gig bag, and he'd bring them both out. But Japanese kid who, so whenever he gets stressed out, he plays ukulele. Anyway, but anyway, yeah. So but I do have a banjo student. They have a new classification for like extraneous fretted instruments. Yeah. So and I don't know how far along to go with it because I have, I am a very boring guy at a party, because I have so many ideas about, about music, how to, like banjo, you take it seriously, read music, do chord theory. Just like, okay, so, I'm fond of saying, well, here's an E flat 7 flat 9. It's got an equation. How would you do that on a banjo, So, how about an E7 flat? Anyway, so I actually, what I would do on a banjo, because you only have like 5 strings or only 4 usable ones sometimes. Instead of playing like an E flat 7 flat 9, I would play just an E diminished 7 and substitute. That's what I do anyway.
You may have people in your audience that know what that means.
Probably, if they're watching people, I mean that's not that it's not rocket scientists if you're any kind of a jazz musician, because see the thing about well, it's a long story, but I mean like if you have a chord with like 5 notes in it or something like that, you don't have to play all 5 notes. Or if you have one with 7 notes in it, you can't even play it on a guitar. And if you have one with 5 notes in it, you can't play it on ukulele. So you leave something out. Yeah. So you could substitute another chord that has those notes in it. And so my suggestion to anybody out there who's listening who runs into this problem, and we all run into these problems occasionally. So if you have something 7 flat 9 chord, and it's really inconvenient, you can play a diminished 7 chord that's just 1/2 step higher. So if it's an E flat, if your problem is having like an E flat, then you could just play this chord. See, the E flat 7 flat 9. Here's an E diminished 7. It's like the same chord, only missing a note. That note, to be exact. But it's okay. I was clever. I left out the root. That was the one you're supposed to put in there, because that's what it's all built on. But I always was a rebel. So anyway, never mind. I'm just having fun.
You're a Japanese student taking ukulele. When we go snowbird in the wintertime, we often go to Chinese New Year shows and see Asians with stringed instruments that don't look like anything.
That's right.
You ever see around here?
Yeah. I don't. I've always wanted a pipa, but and the reason it's called pipa is that you have just play with a pick. Yeah. It's like it goes down and up. It's pipa, 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 pipa. Anyway, but it's just like some people call it a moon guitar. It's like it looks. It's a string instrument with frets on it, but it's round. But it's not a banjo. It's not a drum head. It's a round wooden box with a resonator.
Have a real long neck on it?
Yeah, it has a long neck. Not as long as the really long one you see, which is there's a shamisen, which is the Japanese instrument, which is like a Japanese banjo with 3 strings, and a really long neck. And you see there's this one famous painting of a courtesan playing her shamisen with great big tuners on it. And it's fretless. It's like a 3-string Japanese banjo. And I've mentioned it on the show before because American banjos have traditionally had calf skin for the drum head on top. Shamisen. Meow. Cat.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to name her a cat, Shamisen, so she wouldn't be so much a burden. But my wife and my son vetoed that.
I see.
So we named her Attila.
Which is a fitting name for a cat.
Well, like she has a type A personality, but anyway, well, she's a lover though. Every cat I've ever had has been a lover. People say, I don't know, I thought you only saw cats when it's time to feed them. I say, no, man. This cat has to sit in my lap for about 2 hours a day. Not all at once, of course, but in intervals, different times of the day.
Well, one of my wife's cats thinks she has to be right in my face.
Yeah. I hate to tell you this, Bob, and you may object to this, but it's probably your cat. So, or you're the cat's human.
Yeah. Yeah, dogs have masters, cats have staff.
That's right. That's right. I've repeated that more than once, I'm afraid. I live with, yeah. Well, I live with a dog and a cat, and guess who was running the show?
After our last dog, I thought I was out of the livestock business, but
Yeah, well,
then my wife brought a couple cats in.
yeah, well. Cats are the most popular critter to live with, people live with in this country. They outstripped dogs some years ago, but I tell our cat, that I'm a dog person, but she doesn't care. And my dog used to sit there and like lick my arm, lick and lick, and now the cat's starting to do it. They never met, the dog has been gone for many years, but I had a dog and a cat, and I think they were they were good friends, I think they were conspiring against me. But the dog was 100 pounds, the cat was 10 pounds, but somehow the cat was the one who, he was the boss. He had the claws and the attitude. So, yeah. Sometimes, but the cat would go like that, and then the dog would go, boom, like that, and the cat would go rolling, But anyway, he just had toenails. He didn't have razor-sharp claws, you see. But anyway, it's personality traits. But yeah, we had Attila, the cat, she's taken to licking me, like licking my thumb. Sit in my lap, start licking my thumb or my arm. I don't know if that's affection or she just thinks I need cleaning, but there's something kind of disgusting about that. Also, that when she really bears down on my arm, she's got that raspy cat tongue. They got a little brush built in there. And,
Yep.
Anyway.
I put hand lotion on once in a while. When I do, the cat that thinks it owns me wants to lick that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, you don't seem clean enough to her.
I thought she must just like the flavor of it.
Probably just think you need a cleaning. So. We finally, Attila, she had figured out the way to get into this crawl space. We have an old house from the 1890s, but one of the newer additions on it has like a crawl space, and there's a brick foundation. It's an old house about a block from the brickworks, the old brickworks in the old days, and so there's a brick mixing. So there's this one. I never thought about anything about it. A little brick like this that goes in the crawl space, but I guess Attila was going in there to explore. So she come out, and you can't like dust the crawl space, So she came out covered with cobwebs. And the other cat, Torben, who was very fastidious, he would just look at her like, "Oh no, look what you did!" And he's like, and then lick her clean again. And she'd be like, "Yeah," because she seems so pleased. She come like totally covered with cobwebs and filthy, looking so pleased with herself. And he'd just give her this look like, "Oh, look what you did," and lick her clean again. That's probably what killed him. I don't know.
I was thinking, the stuff we put on the cats for hairballs is yummy chicken flavored white petrolatum, which is the generic name for Vaseline.
I see. They like that?
Not much.
I see.
They won't eat it. If you put it on their paws, they'll lick it off.
Yeah.
But no, you can't get them to, put it on in your finger or a spoon and get them to eat it. You have to put it on their paws and then they'll lick it off.
Oh, I see. Huh. Well.
So it must not be quite as yummy as it says on the package, but.
I see, yeah. Oh, well. Felines. Nothing more than felines.
Yeah, maybe you should do something guitarish.
trying to forget my fuzzy little gâteau. Anyway. All right, so this is a Reverend Charger. I have two of these. Yeah, my looper's going to die at any moment, I can tell. But I have two of these guitars. Three if you count the one with the two P90s on it. The first one I got has a rosewood fingerboard, but so I've been looking around in my collection of guitars for something with really low frets, a therapy guitar, something easy to play. So the last month or more, I've been playing mostly steel string guitars and my big heavy jazz box. And they have really stiff strings on them. And on Saturday night, I played about 3.5 hours Friday and Saturday night.
Where did you play on Friday and Saturday night?
Well, I played Tuscan Moon. And when I say I played 3.5 hours, I mean I played 3.5 hours a night. So you add it up, it's like 7 hours.
You'll probably do that again this weekend, won't you?
I will. And I hope it's as wonderful as it was last weekend, because the weather was nice and the flies weren't out, you know, and it was nice. They had pretty lights and everything. And but what happened was my finger here at the last half hour of Saturday night, like right about 9 o'clock or later, maybe 9:30, I started to hurt a lot, and I kept playing, And now it's not 100% better. It doesn't seem to hurt when I play, but I do have a pain in there for some reason. It stings right in there my fingertip. And I don't usually, I mean, I play a lot of guitar and mandolin and banjo and stuff like that. So I was kind of worried about this, this, you know, because I heard Paul Simon had calcium deposits in his fingertips, and it made playing agonizing. And if my, well, you know, if I mean, if I can't play guitar, what do? Straight into cans of soup at the Hy-Vee in the middle of the night? Or?
What does Paul Simon do?
Well,
Is there a treatment for that?
I don't know. I don't know how he's, you know, if he's, I think they got back together again and did a Simon and Garfunkel show or something, but I don't know. But I don't know what he did, but apparently it's a problem. And I don't know what went wrong. I play a lot of guitar a lot. The thing is, I've been playing a lot of nylon string guitar normally in the last few years. I have, you know, played more nylon string guitar than anything in my life. But I've been playing, you know, steel string folk guitar, 12-string folk guitar, and the big heavy jazz box with super, like, heavy-duty chrome flat wound jazz strings. So I thought, wow, you know, I was doing stuff because I was cooking, you know, I was playing along, I was like doing stuff that one would normally not do on a big, you know, like. See, this has actually these are 11, so these are actually pretty hefty strings. But my view was to find something that didn't have like big frets, and then put lower gauge strings on them. And I've been looking all over them for my and my guitar collection. I don't have anything with like smaller frets. You know, something to be easy on the fingers. I had one that I sold, and now I'm starting to regret that. So I'm playing this one, which is pretty easy on the fingers. I think, you know, the thing is not to stop playing, but to have a good therapy guitar. And I had an American G&L ASAT Telecaster with a you know, Telecaster made by G&L. It's in George and Leo. George Fullerton and Leo Fender. And of course, Leo Fender is the one who started Fender Guitars, and he sold his name. Went to work for Music Man for a while. Then he started G&L with George Fullerton, who was his, like, I think he was his sales manager or something. So they, from back in the old days. So they went together and they started G&L. I have a few G&Ls, but mine are the imported bodies and necks with American pickups in them anyway. But anyway, but I had the American one, and I eventually sold it when I was going through the great massacre of my guitar collection. And but that was my therapy guitar because it's really easy to play. It had this really lacquered, varnished neck with small, low frets. It was like easy to play, but I had something wrong. My knuckles were hurting. I actually picked up a bunch of books in those boxes you get at the office supply place where you know, you stick it there. They have these like handles. You can like break them in there, and I was in an apartment. My wife, you know, we were after we got married, she moved in with me, which is not the way people do it these days. But she had all these like shelves of books. So she dutifully put them all neatly in these boxes, which weighed about, you know, 20, 30 pounds. And I could carry 2 or 3 of them because the thing was the elevator. There's a little elevator. She's like the 3rd or 4th floor. It's a little apartment. And so I could carry, because I didn't want to like keep the elevator too long. So I'd carry a bunch of them out at once. And I'm kind of a big guy, you know, I could carry, you know. See, in some ways, my ancestors had to work for a living, but my fingers and my wrists are very dainty. You see, so I did okay. I carried a whole bunch of books, you know, and put them in the van, and you know, but the next day, my knuckles from carrying those boxes like this were like, ow, and they remained that way for months, like, and I thought, oh, my career's over. But what I discovered was I could play this little therapy Telecaster very easily, and it actually felt better to play the guitar. So that's a long way around saying if you have something wrong with your hands, just play a therapy guitar, and don't like sit there and brood about it. So yesterday I or was it Sunday? I forget. I was spending my an evening like about 5 hours of Glenn Campbell, like watching videos of him, and I read some stuff about him, but mostly I watched videos of him playing at the on various television programs, his own show, and other things. Video clips of him when he's quite young, hot rodding with a guitar, and it felt like I didn't want to play. I wanted to stay, I wanted to rest my fingertip, which still hurts a bit, and it was kind of hard to do, because I don't know about you, but if I sit watching, YouTube videos, a lot of times I pick up a guitar.
I can do that.
Yeah. How many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? 101. One to screw it in, and 100 to say, yeah, I can do that. That's what.
So you try holding it up behind your head and playing it?
Put it on top of my head. Yeah, I haven't done that much lately.
That's what he did when he was young.
In ninth grade, I did that with classical gas, with a classical guitar, put it behind my head, and like. But I don't. That's not the same. Anyway. Yeah.
Or another way, him and Roy Clark would get on a guitar, one of them playing the right hand, the other playing the left hand, and they'd switch ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember those things, yeah. Oh, well. Dick Dale, when he came through and played at Gabe's, and I went to the show, remembering I should have taken earplugs, too late. I made do with some cocktail napkins and little wads, but anyway. But he had...
Dick kept it cranked up to 11?
Basically, yeah, 12. But he had a guy with him, a young fella, a bass player, just the two of them. And they would do this thing where they'd walk up to each other, and they'd play the other guy's instrument. The guy would have it strapped down, so he'd play the bass, and the other guy would play the guitar. And anyway, yeah. So anyway, so this one's I don't play this guitar very much. I was really happy to have it, but I thought I liked the rosewood fingerboard better. Maybe I do. I don't know. Thing is, it's a nice humbucker guitar here. But if I switch over here to the neck or the bridge position, it doesn't have a coil tap, I don't think, does it? No, it doesn't, right? Or coil splitter, but it has this bass roll off. So when I played Trek Fest one year, my Telecaster my beloved Telecaster was buzzing a little bit on me. It wasn't handling the humidity very well. So I grabbed this one, or the other one was just like this, only with a rosewood. And so you go, and that's like a Telecaster. We haven't made a bloop. Anyway, we get a little noise out of this amp. Yeah, I had this. This is an old loop station, an old Boss RC2 I have down here on the floor, and I've been using it for the last few weeks because I am too lazy to bring an extension cord so I can plug a power supply. This one, it runs on a 9-volt battery, but my battery, it's okay. We don't have to like zoom in on it. My battery's been dying for the last. It's been now I can't see the little. I can hardly see the little light at all. And sometimes when the battery is dying, it starts to make little noise. Anyway, we'll see.
Ready for a battery?
I don't know if I am or not. It hasn't died yet. But I say, why put off till tomorrow what you can put off till next Wednesday? Yeah, so a week from Sunday or whatever. Or why put off till tomorrow what you can put off till there forever? But sooner or later, you have to, anyway. Sooner or later, you have to put a battery in. It's one thing about having a dog in my life, all those years, I didn't have to remember to feed the dog. He'd mention it to me, in his dog language, but it was very easily understood. And, if you ask the dog if he wants a Chewies, that's the little hide strip that they chew on, they say, you want a Chewies? Look at you. You want a Chewies? Like that? Do you want to Chewies? And then you start doing a dance. Like he didn't believe you. He knew what you were saying, but he just didn't believe you. He thought you were kidding or something.
My wife's big cat will do that. If she wakes up in the morning and there's no food in the bowl and I'm not up, she will come get me up.
Right, of course. She's going to mention something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I live with these animals. I don't know. I've lived most of my adult life with some sort of quadruped, at least one. In my household as a member of the family, really. More like a member of family than an honored guest. But, so,
Or ruler of the roost.
Basically. But, it's easy to, you communicate things with them. I misinterpreted Torben. He was a very deep kind of cat, though. He had these blue eyes, and he was a very deep kind of personal, very deep kind of cat person. But he would say, he would tell me things, in his cat-like way, but I misinterpreted. He'd go down in the basement and howl. We thought that was because he was a rescued cat, so he was in foster care with 14 cats and 9 dogs or something in a relatively small house. And so when he came and moved in with us, it was in those days just my son and me, these two humans. And he was very happy. First thing he did was he brought him home, he sat him down on the floor, and he went all over the house meowing, saying, wow, this is cool, But then after a couple of years, he would go down the basement and howl about something. We thought, I must be lonesome for somebody furry, He needs somebody to love. And then we got a kitten for him. And I'm not sure how he felt about that. I mean, they were very close and everything, and then we figured out what it really was. So he wanted his box to be absolutely clean and fresh at all times. And I didn't really get around to it right away. Now, somewhere during those early years with him, I acquired a wife who was more fastidious than me. And also, he was very fond of her. I think he liked the ladies. And Attila likes the fellas. So, anyway, I don't know.
My wife's cats, they're one of each.
Yeah. Well, so what we had, the male cat liked the women better, I think. He was very fond of me, but I think he had an eye for the ladies. And then Attila, she likes the guys. She's definitely more, well, she's like, she has to sit in my lap and start licking me. She doesn't do that with my wife. She didn't even purr for my wife for a couple of years. And then I have guitar students coming over, as students, and she has friends. And she makes friends. Sometimes there's one woman she likes quite a bit, who's been coming for a couple weeks. But she just started. But then, but really she'll come in and sniff the woman's shoe and say hello. But then with the guys, she'll say, I gotta sit in your lap. Especially the really tough guys, or short men from India. She really likes short men from India somehow. But just want to sit in a guy's lap, I think a lot of people don't have cats at home in India. So it's like, what is this? But anyway. But she likes tough guys, kind of guys who've been in bar fights. Yeah. was a veteran of the Iraq conflict, we call it that, who probably killed people, you know.
Yeah.
He was a tough guy, career military guy. She was crazy about him. She'd sit in his lap and roll around and like, yeah. I don't know.
There's my man. Huh?
So, I mean, another guy I know who I think he had a past where he would, he'd get in bar fights and stuff like that, A banjo player, actually. And she was really liked that guy a lot, So, anyway. She likes macho men and short men from India. So, I don't know. Talking about cats again.
And it's a guitar show.
Sooner or later, I'll, like the internet.
Tell us about your guitar.
I was telling you, this is a Reverend Charger, a 2P90s, and it has this sort of sienna burst, sunburst. I wanted the maple neck and the maple fingerboard because it's like different, The frets are kind of high. It'd be interesting if they were lower, but I'm not gonna get somebody to pry these off and replace them. It's a different feel. But the reason I got this one was I really like the other one, and I probably have to put some new strings on that and bring on the show. Exactly the same guitar, only it's I call it violin brown, so it's a sort of brown, light brown color, and it has the rosewood fingerboard, so the dark, but it also has a very different feel and it sounds different. I mean, really, the maple and the rosewood fingerboards sound different. Maple is kind of cold to the touch and very hard. Of course, the neck is made out of maple. The other one, it's just the fingerboard. This is just one piece of wood. So the other one has a, piece of rosewood glued on top, and then the frets are put on top of that. But it has the same pickups. So I got this one for, so I have the maple, and also because it has this sort of tutti frutti color, It's kind of, I don't know how it looks at home, but it's kind of this sunburst. It's really a cheerful, like sunrise, sunset, I don't know, sunrise color. And I think most of my guitars tend to be kind of stodgy. I mean, not the Lamborghini Yellow Flying V, but, a lot of the other ones,
Or the candy apple red.
Yeah, I guess I've got a few of those too, but, well, I got a lot of guitars, I guess. And then today I went to the pawn shop again, because I've been looking at this one Telecaster, which is made in Korea. The short run of these is like a special, whatever edition, made in Korea. A Telecaster by Fender. It says Fender on it. It doesn't say Squier like the Chinese or the Indonesian ones do. And it's actually a pretty nice guitar. It has Seymour Duncan pickups on it. They only made them for a little while in about 2005. And so I've been looking around in my collection to see if I had one with low frets so I could have a therapy guitar. I thought, well, maybe I'd better go check on that Telecaster again. But when I got there, there's this guy there who was playing it because he was, or looking it over really carefully, and he wasn't much of a player, I guess, but he was, so he recognized me from this show, and he said, you probably know something about this. And I rattled off all the details, like I just told you. It's like mid-2000, like 2005, something like that, made in Korea. Seymour Duncan pickups, limited edition. Guitar, everything is in pretty good shape, except for the tone knob the pot was blown. I mean, it was like, needs to be replaced and everything. And then the guy was, saying, yeah, okay. Somebody's son looked it up and found some of the same stuff, but I read off all the details, and then I plugged it into the amp that I prefer, which I've been thinking about buying also, although I already have one, a Fender Blues Junior, but the one that they had there is a different, like vintage, a different edition of the same amp, you see, so it'd be a little different. So part of me wants to get that guitar and that amp. In fact, I was thinking, what if I went in there and just plopped whatever, like, I have a slush fund that I have been saving up. It's getting more substantial. What if I just plop that on the counter and say, I'll take these two, this guitar and this amp, if you give them to me for this much. Yes, yeah, that was going through my mind as I was stuck in the traffic because the students are back, and I was sitting there on Riverside Drive, having just come from West Music, of course, and going to the pawn shop on my way to the Musician's Pro Shop. Never mind, it's a sickness. It's called gas. Anyway, so, but there I was extolling the virtues of this Telecaster. This guy was going to buy it for his son instead of saying, oh, no, it's junk. Here, I'll take it. Yeah, walk up to the counter. But I didn't do it. I feel like I'm growing. Anyway,
Growing up.
I have a I have two American-made Telecasters. I have, once again, rosewood and maple. Right. American specials. Made in, Corona, California. I've had them both in the show before, and if I want a Telecaster, I don't have one. I have two. Plus, I have some G&Ls, George and Leo, of different configurations, which are pretty cool guitars, too. And I have this one, which is a lot like a Telecaster in many ways, and I have another one just like it, except the rosewood. And then I have another one, which is also maple, but has two P90s. So I have three of these guitars here, plus other guitars. So I don't really need that Telecaster, but it's kind of cool. Of course, I could always go back tomorrow and see if it's still there, or I could just stay home and
play something you already have.
Yeah, I have a lot of nice guitars that it gets kind of dusty, I need to be played. There are a couple of people who watch this show, and I keep going on and on about the ravages of guitar acquisition syndrome, known as GAS. And so I run into people like at the supermarket or whatever on the street, and they repeat my words to me. I keep running into, like almost every day, I run into somebody who has watched my show, and they have some sort of connection. A lot of times it's with the guitar acquisition thing. So some guy's got 7 guitars, and his wife thinks he's got a bad case or something, That's nothing, I mean, and I don't even have the worst, because somebody was telling me some guy in Des Moines who has like 1,000 guitars. I have well under 100.
Well, supposedly Keith Richard has like 2,000.
Yeah, well, I guess he could. He's probably got the money for it. But see, one thing the reason I probably wouldn't want to get that Tele, although I kind of like it, is that although it's not necessarily a cheap guitar, I mean, it's really inexpensive and a little dirty and needs some work. The pawn shop, but I mean, when it was new. But I'm kind of favoring the American ones instead of the copies. I don't have any Squires anymore. I sold my last Squire. It was a pretty nice guitar. It was a Telecaster Squire. This was made in Indonesia, probably, body and neck. And it had the Asian Duncan designed P90 pickups, so they're like Seymour Duncan copies made in Asia, probably China. But it's a nice guitar, but I don't want to. I guess I don't want I want the original. I'm just like I don't need 1,000 guitars or even 100 guitars. I just need the ones that do exactly what I want them to do. And I guess I don't have anything against. I have some Mexican Stratocasters I'm very fond of, but I have the 4 American-made ones. So people say, well, what's the difference between Corona and Ensenada? That 2 factories.
100 miles?
40 miles. That's what the guy said. I don't know how I haven't measured it, but that's what some. But they are different. The Mexican fenders are different from the American ones. But I mean, people work at both factories. They go back and forth and stuff like that. A lot of times they use the same woods and materials. They're very closely connected. Fender built that factory in Ensenada, and so. I mean, what can I say? They're nice. They're very different from like the Indonesian fenders, because the choice of woods and stuff. But anyway, I'm just rambling on where I'm playing. Did I do this last week too? You know, the thing is, you got to play the thing over and over again, because I probably played it on Friday, Saturday night, or one of those. But you have to play the song over and over again until it becomes automatic. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Last week when they were all talking about Glenn Campbell, a lot of them said that he couldn't carry on a conversation there toward the end, but he could still play the songs that he'd played over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
That's what I've heard about him. There's a thing I read a thing about from his doctor, who was saying that he's forgotten all these words and stuff like that, but the parts of his brain that knew the guitar were still there. That was so deep inside of his mind. That he was a good player. As I say, I spent the other night just like 5 or 6 hours, I guess, just from the early evening until the wee hours of the morning.
They played him so many times it was automatic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have that with a lot of songs that are really deeply ingrained, and then and sometimes I'll like sleep a groove and forget them. One thing about like playing guitar, and I'm thinking about this a lot because I'm going to do a thing in October about classical guitar for people, and I'm going to do a little. Like for West Music, I'm going to do a Thursday night presentation, and I'm going to do a thing. But part of it's going to be like music in the brain, which I don't claim to be an expert about, and I can recommend some reading. There are books about that, but you learn a lot about how your mind works if you actively play music. It's different from listening to music, but if you actually play something, and especially on a fairly high level, but even so, any level. I think people learn about the way they learn, and I tell this to my students. They probably think, "Oh, what are you, a hippie or something?" But and I'm not really a hippie. But
Too old for a hippie. You're a beatnik.
that's right. Well, no, I'm actually too young to be a hippie.
Ah.
The hippie era was those are older
In the
kids.
60s.
Yeah, so I was a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah, first time I made it to Haight-Ashbury was 1975. And that was like 8 years after the Summer of Love.
67 was the Summer of Love, wasn't
Yeah, so it was 8 years later, so I was too late. Anyway, but anyway, so what I'm nattering on about is, so that if you get this, you work your brain out, and I guess I could probably judge my ability to remember things and stuff and learn things through my musical issues, like learning new songs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not spending enough time on it because I'm always in the music room now. I'm looking at my computer, seeing what that Trump fella's up to now, and stuff like that, And then if I do play something, I'm working on something, trying to get a sound tone more than I'm working on the notes like I used to. And I probably should just sit down and practice. I had, in early June, late May, early June, I had some commitments where I had the classical guitar stuff. So I actually sat in this. I got a new chair specifically for this. Of course, the cat likes to sleep in it, but it's a leather office chair with no arms, perfect for practicing classical guitar. And your classical chair, you read the notes on the page. You just and you read the text, and then you have to memorize it. I know how to do it, and I know what you got to do. Spend hours staring at that page. Well, actively playing it, not just looking at it, but I don't know. Nope. My looper died. Hang on. The day the looper died. Well, I just got enough time to play the Tom's Guitar Show theme.
Drove the looper down.
Yeah. I was going to do something I was going to paraphrase Fernando Sor and turn it into a solo and finish the show that way, but no, I killed my looper. The battery is dead. That sounds okay. Well, anyway, I guess the show's about over, so check me out Tuscan Moon this weekend if you want.
Is that in Kelowna?
Kelowna, Iowa, about 20 miles south. Tuscan Moon, start about 6:30. Go until the party's over. My advice is make reservations. I'll be there. I'm gonna go down and see that eclipse maybe. Something like that. The song.